Welcome to the creative community. I'm your host, David Starkey, and my guest this time is Erik Davis, the Executive Director of TVSB, Television Santa Barbara, and South Coast Media. Welcome, Erik.
Thank you, David. Nice to be on your show.
Yeah, well, you're often, I see you out in the halls of the show, and we're here because we want to talk a little bit about the 50 years of TVSB and its earlier iterations, and folks watching will be like, well, what are all these posters up here? We're going to talk about them. We're going to let everyone know. But give us a little bit of background about how did the station start?
Well, community television was started on June 1st, 1975, founded by a man named Ira Opper. And he came into the studio one time. I was the only one here.
Right.
And I had no knowledge of the history because a lot of it has been surprisingly lost over the years. Yeah. And so we ended up chatting for a good couple of hours, just how it began. And that's where you see some of these photos. Right. We were able to go into the archives and pull out some of these photos. But back at that time, it was a whole different media landscape, as you could imagine. Right. It was 4 or 5 channels on
the whole spectrum,
the whole dial. And the first name was Cable 2.
Right.
So Channel
That's
2.
right here, yeah.
Right here. And so you could imagine the importance of having a community access station.
Yeah.
And we've managed to keep it alive for 50 years.
Yeah. And that's pretty remarkable too, because a lot of access stations have gone out of business, How did we manage to do it?
Well, it's that's a really good question. When I started in 2017, November 1st, 2017, December 1st, we had mudslides, and that was shut down. A couple of years later, we had the pandemic, and we're a high-touch media, center. And so there's been a lot of challenges along the way. It is currently a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Before that, it was Cox Cable itself. Okay. And then before that, the 80s and 70s were run as kind of just a community access center. But we've been blessed to have the city of Santa Barbara behind us from the very beginning. Right. That they've played a key role in giving voice to the community.
And we want to give a shout out to them, and also to the viewers too.
Yes.
There are people who still have cable television, and people who don't, who will watch on tvsb.tv or on YouTube. And I mean, that's really the mainstay of the station, is people tuning in to see what's going on.
And we get the calls that, we move a program around a little bit.
Right.
And they want to, we get the calls. We get the calls the next day of wanting to find it. And we've had to transition, so we're on the streaming apps, and YouTube's is basically a television station nowadays. Right, and we were on demand. So, we've adapted to that. And I was mentioning to you, we're sitting here with these little small cameras, broadcasting. And just 10 years ago, you got these big, broadcast cameras. So it's really changed. And so we've had to be nimble, but we've had a lot of support from this wonderful community too. Yeah.
Well, before we go on and look at some of these pictures, tell us a little bit about yourself, because people may not know, they might know your face, but what's your background?
So my background is broadcast journalism.
Right.
I wanted to be a news reporter.
Right.
I got started in that in my 20s. And I just kind of saw the direction where news was going at that time. Okay. It was heading down that O.J. Simpson route and so I transitioned into more video marketing and marketing. And,
it seemed too sensational to you?
For me, it was. I kind of grew up on the Dan Rathers, and
you
wanted to do legitimate news.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that aspect, that a different story every day. I've always enjoyed storytelling.
Right.
And I moved back to I grew up here in Santa Barbara, and I moved back in 2000, and then became executive director here in 2017.
Right. And so you were working over at Pacifica for a while?
Pacifica Graduate Institute, yes. We were doing a lot of video work and covering a lot of incredible lectures.
Right.
And I was looking for studio space, so then I discovered the spaces here at the TVSB facilities, which are open to the community, wonderful spaces. There's Studio A, Studio B.
And audio podcasts as well, too.
Yeah,
right?
we do. Yeah, we have quite a bit of people coming in using the audio studios, voiceovers, so we're out there in the community.
It's a rich community institution, really. I mean, like the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. We don't necessarily have a glorious temple in which to house it, but I mean, what happens here, I think, is just as important as almost anything else in town.
Yeah, it's the one place you can give, everybody can have a voice,
Yeah.
be seen and heard, and we provide media literacy, we provide hands-on training for youth. We serve almost over 100 nonprofits each year, providing, discounted
Right.
video production
Right.
services. And then we're also out in the community too,
Yeah.
covering a lot of the events, long form,
Right.
which you're not going to get anywhere else.
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the things I love about my opportunity to do this show is to talk to an artist for 28 minutes. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And they almost always have way more to say than they could have ever squeezed into that half-hour slot. Well, let's look a little bit at, you've got stories, I think, about the different things that we've got up here. This one, let's start with the one over here. This is the van, right?
Oh, the van,
Yeah,
isn't that great?
Yeah, what was
It's
that?
just, so they used to have a production van.
Right.
Again, going back to broadcast in the early days.
Right.
You had to have these big cameras, the big vans, video production vans.
Right.
And this is pretty cool. So they were, some of the early stories I've seen out of this is when they'd cover some of the parades, and the big one was obviously the old Spanish Days Fiesta Parade.
Right.
So they would go out and cover those things and broadcast it on channels.
Yeah.
And they would be playful with it too. They would bring in comedians to narrate.
No, look back over my shoulder here, yeah.
Yeah, Proctor and Ward, I think,
Right.
and the famous comedians. They were on radio,
Right.
and they would do all kinds of shows. The movie of the week, and
Yeah.
it was just a playful place
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
And it kind of still is.
Well, and I think that's what's fun about it. If you don't have a sense of humor, you probably don't want to work here.
Yeah. And we have such a variety of content. We have the political,
Yeah, right,
we
right.
have the religious,
Right.
we have dance and arts,
Right.
and
Right.
it's just a little bit of everything, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Now, I think this one over here is Charles Schultz.
Charles Schultz,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So when famous authors would come through Santa Barbara on their book tours, they would always stop at the Media Access Center and
Right.
do interviews. So,
Right.
so a lot of famous people have passed through these halls.
Well, I've had my chance to interview like Sue Grafton, the great
Yeah,
mystery
that's
novelist.
right.
T.C. Boyle's been on the show
Yeah.
a couple times. We do have a really rich life around us that we can draw on. So I mean, we're talking about the arts. I mean, and that's my show. Why is that particularly a good fit for a place like TVSB?
Because we can do long form.
Right.
We can go out and cover a dance, a theater, a video production, and air 3 hours of a show that
Right.
nobody else can.
Right.
It's also a passion of mine. I consider myself an artist, and I want to go out and cover the solstice parades and a bash. We were able to tape the last bash performance, and
Wow.
it's just so rich.
Yeah.
But yet, community television is different. So we don't have to have the 5-minute, the 28:30, or the 30-second. We can broadcast long form events and culture and cover the community in ways that no other media can.
Yeah, you don't have to watch any dumb commercials.
No, it's all non-commercial.
It's all non-commercial. So now, people watching it, things have changed over the years. And you and I were talking before the camera started rolling, and you were saying, Ira in the 1970s, that the 1980s was a little bit of a mystery decade now because so much of the material has been lost. Is that right?
Well, when we knew the 50th was on the horizon,
Right.
we actually made a really concerted effort to try to learn about the history.
Right.
And we had a hard time with it because so much was lost. We put a lot on the producers, to maintain their own
Right.
archives.
Right.
And back then, even KYT and UCSB recognized that archiving wasn't a real big thing.
Right.
Well,
and you were having a big old
that's
honking,
right. You needed the
video
equipment and
cassette,
to convert it. We were able to find some old shows. We were able to find some old producers. So the 70s are pretty clear, and that's why you see some of these
Right,
funds, because we actually have firsthand knowledge of the person who founded it.
Right.
And then the 80s became a little bit of a blur.
Right.
So we don't have, and we're looking if there's any.
So people are watching, and they had a show in the 80s.
And there were some great shows in the 80s, and we have some of them.
Yeah.
But then in the 90s, we know it went into Cox
The
Communication.
Cox, right? Yeah.
And so there's that 10-year period.
That's the David Edelman era.
That's a
right?
David Edelman era. And then, I want to say 2001, it started, everybody came together and formed a nonprofit that is now known as TV Santa Barbara.
Right.
So it's been 25 years of the nonprofit status.
Right. So back when I first started working here in 2003, it was Santa Barbara Channels was how it was kind of styled. That director then was Hap Freund, and I think you guys are going to honor him.
Yeah, Hap's been a great, and he poured 7-8 years of his life into the station. And yeah, we're definitely going to say thank you. But it's funny. It's had, like I said, started with Channel 2. It's gone through 5 or 6 different locations, multiple name changes. Right. And now it's kind of settled on, TVSB.
Well, tell us other ways that people can access. I mean, if someone is catching us on whatever forum, what are all the ways that you could watch this show right now?
Well, you can obviously watch it on channel 17 and 71. That's on Cox dial. It's about 60,000 people still have Cox cable. But we've made the investment into streaming, so you can find us not only on our website. We're on Roku, Amazon Fire, and then YouTube's become a huge platform for not only us, but everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's where I tend to send people, just look up Creative Community and Erik Davis, and this show will pop up.
And then we push it out on social channels, and we are now backing up all of our content too. So it's safe and it will be protected.
That's good. Well, I'm looking over your shoulder here, and are those our 2 comedians?
No, that one on the left is actually Ira Opper.
Oh, that's Ira.
Yeah.
With the mustache.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we have lots of sets. Another one, one of the longest running shows in that era was Meet the Mayor. So the mayor would come on every week and give an update on what's going on with the city.
Right.
And, pretty cool history.
Tune in to see Jerry Roberts and Nick Welsh, talking about whatever's happening.
Incredible. Yeah, and they're on every night at 5. I think you're on every night at 6. And, they're so consistent. Yeah. And what a great show that is. And talking about the most current events in Santa Barbara. You're not going to get that kind of, again, more long form discussions about the topics of the day. Yeah.
Well, it's been a real joy for me to work here. As you look ahead from the 50th year, what do you see on the horizon?
The horizon is what's really kind of come into focus for us is, video podcasting is just absolutely expanded tremendously in the last 2 or 3 years. So the equipment's becoming smaller, the facilities are becoming smaller, we can be a lot more nimble, and the quality is just incredible. So, we're on that video podcasting front, we've seen that we're giving voice to a whole different audience that may have not have experienced this. Our most recent one is Victor Rios, who's a professor out at UCSB. He's doing I think he's on his 15th episode of Sueños to Success, which is really impactful video podcast that is now aired on our channels. So,
that's great.
Yeah. It's that's kind of the horizon. And then my passion has always been to get into the community. That's kind of my calling card. I've served as Old Spanish Days Presidente. I've been King of Solstice. So I enjoy getting out.
There's some great pictures of you in both roles. Yeah, we should have those up here somewhere.
So that's what I want to do is cover some of the arts, continue to cover the lectures and events. We tape the great lectures at the Maritime Museum. We tape the lectures at the Historical Museum. Right. So I want to continue to push so that we cover this community like we can.
Well, and I think one of the things too is that something like that, a lecture at say the Historical Museum, that's not something that everybody can get to.
Nope.
Even if you're an able-bodied adult, that might be you got to work that night, or you're the kids or whatever. That's something that's preserved in posterity for you to see. Especially, I'm thinking also of our older viewers who don't have as much mobility. They might be in a assisted living facility or something like that. They're still hungry for ideas and content, but this is a place where they can go and find it.
Absolutely. I think we air them every night from 9 to 10:30, and it's great content, just a rich history. Yeah, the Maritime lectures are incredible too. So we're really proud to have those partnerships with the community resources here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a lot of fun talking about the 50th anniversary. Anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Well, you know, we recently had Rick Steves
Right.
here at the Arlington Theater, so we kind of kicked off our 50th year, and we'll be celebrating. We'll be doing an awards and honor gala later this summer, and I'm just so appreciative to be able to help usher in, you know, 50 years of community television.
Right.
And so we rely on viewers, we rely on the support of the community, and we're just really grateful. And a special thanks to the cities of Santa Barbara, the cities of Carpinteria, because we also provide government broadcasts for the city of Carpinteria, which is important because that brings access to government, transparency in government, and providing that is an important role that we serve too.
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun talking with you, and hopefully we always try to make our shows evergreen. Erik, 50 years from now, when you and I are both dead, somebody will be watching this on whatever, some 3D, media of the future.
Well, Ira is just floored that it's still going 50 years later
Yeah.
from when he started it.
Yeah.
And he'll be doing, well, last time he was in town, I got him on air
Right.
for just to kind of recount some of
Right.
that history. So we might be able to splice in some of the shows and some of the old clips. You know, Katy Perry grew up singing here. With her parents' show, which is still going too. So, yeah, it's a great place to discover. tvsantabarbara.org is our website. And there's a lot of ways you can get involved. You can sponsor a show. You know, we provide tools and training if you want to make your own content. We allow all community members to submit content to our 2 channels.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways you can get involved and participate.
Well, thank you so much, Erik Davis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
The Creative Community is a production of TVSB. I'm your host, David Starkey, and we'll see you next time.